Hi everybody, I promised that I'll make a video about the Rotary amp part of the new plugin Rotary, which consists of the organ part and the Rotary amp part. And we had the organ part the last time, so we will have a look at the Rotary amp today. And yes, I have such a Rotary amp here, and this consists usually of three components, and this is the speaker box. And here we have a little remote control, which is usually attached to your organ. And here I have an external tube amplifier, this German boutique stuff, very expensive. I retrofitted this speaker with an external amp input because this comes shipped with a transistor amp, and I didn't like the sound, so I went for this amp. And well, yes, we'll see. So let's see what's inside this thing and open it. So okay, now it's opened, we can have a look inside, and the part in the middle is the part with the actual speakers. So we have the bass speaker, and this is put in upside down and is reflected on a ramp on a drum that can turn. And now it's moving the sound towards the camera, and when it turns now it's moving the sound towards the wall, of course. That is one part, that's the bass part, and of course this is attached to a motor here, so it can spin. And we have the other speaker, the tweeter speaker for the higher frequencies, and this is put in so it puts the sound upwards, and it puts the sound upwards into this horn thing here. And this actually is one speaker horn, and the other part is just for symmetrical balance, because when it spins, and it can spin very fast, we need to have balance in there. So, and this can spin too. And well, usually now it's spinning free, but usually it's attached to a motor with a belt, and that's one weak part of these old things, because the belts always keep on breaking, and you need to find someone who can make you spare parts for that. And I'm sure you can imagine that we won't take all the effort of building such big things and speakers and motors and stuff if there wasn't a reason. Because there are several effects going on when you're using such an amp. When this horn, for example, points towards you, you have the full sound. So it is put towards you, and when it turns away, now it's pointing to the wall. So the sound will have a lower volume, of course, and you will hear what's reflected from that wall. And also it will sound a bit dull, because the speaker, actually now we're behind the speaker, and now we're in front of the speaker. So if you're behind the speaker, it sounds dull, and if you're in front of the speaker, it sounds bright. And this is usually spinning all the time, so you're actually moving around the speaker all the time. But that's more the kind of effect that appears when it's turning slow. It can also spin very fast. And then the main effect that comes into place is the so-called Doppler effect. Because it's spinning so fast, you can't really hear, I'm behind the speaker, I'm in front of the speaker. You just hear some kind of a diffuse sound. But as a sound approaches, it has a higher pitch as when it moves away. We all know that from ambulances, like la lu la 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 lu la la, when it passes on the street. And that's basically the same effect. So we not only have the effect that we have it bright and dull and higher level and lower level, we also have a change in the pitch. And of course, this pitch change effect is in another phase from the reflections from the wall. So the direct sound has another pitch variation than the reflection. And all that leads to a kind of a chorused, flangy, tremolo, swirly sound. And then we have this this drum here, which can rotate, and it doesn't rotate at the same speed as the horn. So we have the same effects, not so strong, but they are there with this drum thing. And the horn and the drum both are spinning, and they keep their effects, well, kind of separately. So sometimes they overlap, and sometimes they cancel out a bit, and things like that. Both of these things, the drum and the horn, of course, have their own behavior on the speed change. So when I go from stop mode to spinning mode, they need to speed up. When I go from a slow spinning mode to a fast spinning mode, they need to speed up. And when I switch back to slow mode, they need to lower their speed. And all these speed changes vary, of course, from speaker to speaker, from up to down, and from amp model to amp model, which again means that these things are not in sync in any way. And that, of course, gives more interesting sound changes. Okay, now let's see what's up with miking such a speaker. It's not that difficult, but it's interesting. Usually you would pick some microphones like these, old ribbon microphones, or interesting vintage condenser microphones, or your 75ers or whatever microphone you prefer to use on such an amp. But for demonstration, because you can see it better in your camera, I will show you this with the usual 58 microphone. So for this drum part here, you would put a microphone right before the drum, because you won't mic up that in stereo. It just gives you muddy image sound, and I know that people are doing that, but I never felt that it was very useful. Because on the bass part of that amp, we basically need the modulation in the volume. But when it comes to that horn speaker part here, we can go more interesting. So we could just set up a microphone here, and we would record all the effects that I just told you. So we have the volume changes and these flanging effects and the Doppler effects and all that. But it gets even more interesting if we put one microphone here and another microphone there and pan them left and right in our stereo image. So the speaker comes by this microphone and then this microphone. So we always, in the slow mode, we get a kind of effect. And on faster spinning, of course, a different effect. We could have a 90-degree microphone setup. So this would one microphone here and the other microphone there or there. So we would have them at an angle of 90 degree, or we could even do a 180 degree microphone setup. So one microphone on the one side and one microphone on the other side, which gives a very symmetric and steady sound. So the sound will always move left, right. And the more narrow this microphone angle, it will do like... And the wider microphone angle is, it's like... Okay, now let's see the backside that I removed here. So that's the back plate, and I hope you can see that in the camera picture while I explain it to you. It has 4 knobs here. So we have a general volume knob, and then we have these 2 other knobs. One for treble and one for bass. So this is the volume for the amplifier for the horn speaker, and this is the volume for the amplifier for the bass woofer. And then we have another volume, and this is a volume for a built-in reverb. And that, of course, is a spring reverb. Over here we have the on-off switch and a multi-pin connector, which is connected to the mains and to the remote control. So, okay, let's see the plugin. For demonstrating the plugin, I will this time not use the organ sound. Instead, I'm going to use an electric piano sound. And I do that to make clear that the Rotary amp part of the plugin can process any sound it gets. So for this part of the plugin, it doesn't play a role if the sound comes from the plugin organ itself or if it's external audio. I have a little tempo automation here. You can ignore that. That was for other tests. So let's record a part. So that's now our audio. Let's play that back in clean. Okay, that's what we just heard. And now let's throw the plugin on it. So we go here is the plugin, and I'm gonna enable it and pop it out, make it a bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing here. And here we have the amp section. So in the organ page, we could design all the sounds for the organ and stuff. But this time I put that to effects only. The rotary amp part, of course, also works in the other modes, but we can save a bit of CPU. If we're not using it, we can switch that off and go to effects only. Okay, so let's go to the amp part. And here we can do all the settings for the horn and the drum speaker. So we can set the slow speed for the horn and the fast speed for the horn, as well as for the drum speaker, the slow and the fast speed for the drum. And on the right side, we have this, the horn slows down. How fast will it slow down? And how fast will it speed up? And the same for the drum. So now I have it for some random settings, the rotor on high speed. So let's hear what the plugin does to the electric piano. Maybe that was not loud enough. But hey, we still have some controls left. So we have the level for the horn and the level for the drum. Let's again hear that. And now again, let's hear that without the rotor amp. And with the amp on. Okay, that's a bit louder now. And we can hear that with the low speed. And especially on the long chords, you will recognize that we have this panning left and right thing, at least if you listen on headphones. So now let's turn the slow speed a bit faster and listen again with that slow speed. And let's see the last control for the horn and drum part. And this is the crossover frequency. So if you set that very high, more of the mid-range sound content will be processed by the drum part. So the drum speed and the drum speed changes. And only the horn is mic'd up in stereo. So if you want to have it more stereo and less of the drum processing, you would turn that down. So all the mid-range now goes to the horn part. For the next audio example, let's have a view at the microphone settings. And I hope I made a nice collection. So we have a smaller dynamic microphone, a bigger dynamic microphone, a ribbon microphone, a large condenser, and a small condenser microphone here. Let's take the first microphone. And here we can set up the microphone positioning, so the microphone angle. If we set that to 100 degrees, we will get a very regular left, right thing. And this horn mic stereo knob is actually a knob for the level changes in the microphone. So this horn turns away and gets quieter, and the horn comes along and is louder thing. And in the stereo microphone setup, if you have that very drastic, that will make it more stereo. So let's hear that now with 100 degree and a drastic horn mic stereo setting. So that was a bit drastic. And I find it more interesting if you go to lower mic angles, because then you have this, the sound comes by and is away again. I like that because it gives me an interesting sound. And here we have one switch left, and this is if it's an open cabinet or if it's a closed speaker cabinet. Open cabinets are brighter and closed speakers are often more pleasing to the ear, especially on organ sounds that feature a lot of the high drawbars. And as you saw, not only organs can play through this amp, we could use synthesizers, we could use electric pianos, guitars, even vocals or drum loops or whatever you like. And you can not only use the Rotary amp for that, you can use the combo amp too. It's a bit more boring, you just have a microphone selector and the combo speaker. The direct out part is actually not for today's video because it completely turns off the amp section of the plugin. Okay, let's go back to the Rotor amp and hear what we have again. But that's not all. In the organ page, we also have controls that can be used with the amp. And the first of them is the drive control. So we had a lot of drive already. Let's go to a clean mode, so turn the drive off. And now let's drive. Especially on electric pianos, it can be interesting. And with the amp section, we can use the reverb settings. So let's now hear the electric piano with a bit of reverb. Maybe this dial here is too drastic. Turn that down a bit. And well, listen with high speed again. But even all that is not all you can do. We can go to the settings page and see some more things. So of course we can adjust the reverb for the small and the big reverb. And we can select where it's applied. Is it before the amp, so the reverb is also processed by the rotary things? Or is it after the amp? This would be as if you had a microphone recording from the amp and apply reverb to that. And that, of course, makes a difference in the sound. Now here on the left, we have this touch horn and drum part. We can set up the mic angle here with a little visualization for that again. And now we can't do anything because it's turning, but we can stop that here. So let's go to off, and now it should stop. And of course, drum and horn stop in a random position. And that depends on the position that they had as you press stop. And it depends on the slow down speed that you adjusted. But now we see the horn is pink. So I can grab it with my mouse and turn it around. And I can do the same thing with the drum. And this can be quite useful sometimes to readjust them when the motor is not moving in the Reaper project to get a certain sound. And of course, you can also automate this. So this is set to a parameter that is called last touch, position horn, or if I move the drum, last touch, position drum. And the clever guys of you will already have thought it. As long as I can have that here in my parameters list, I can automate this externally with an LFO. And here it gets interesting again, because if I use an LFO, I can do all kinds of funny things here. I could, for example, set this horn position to a random position, which can give interesting sounds. Or just put it to flip. Or, well, whatever you like. I'm sure you'll find out what suits your needs. And as soon as you put it back into rotation, it will be grayed out again and rotate. Well, that was the amp part of the plugin. I hope you like it, and I hope you have fun with the plugins, and bye-bye.